Welcome to Garden Wall Recall.
A nostalgic time capsule, a no-spoiler book club of the original Over the Garden Wall fandom.
We are your creepy curators. I am Shocking Shelby.
I'm Chilling Charlie.
And I'm Ella!
Led through the mist by the milk light of moon, all that was lost is revealed. Our long bygone burdens, mere echoes of the spring. But where have we come, and where shall we end? If dreams can't come true, then why not pretend?
Hello, dumplings.
Hello, you little dumpling.
Hello, dumplings.
We're a bunch of jolly dumples recording a podcast.
Tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Oh no! The Smurf is upon you, boy! You need to get out of here!
Oh yeah, he's only like 3 apples high. How scary could he be?
Ooh, you better beware. Ooh, the Smurf is out
The
there.
Smurf is out there!
Boy, you're right.
The Smurf! So this is the final episode of Garden Wall Recall, everyone.
Saying it so.
I know. I'll miss you most of all, John Crops.
Does that mean we're not going to be friends anymore after this, or?
I have no idea. It depends how this episode goes. Yeah. So before we get into the final 2 episodes of Over the Garden Wall, it appears that we have some fan mail brought to us perhaps by talking carrier pigeon, I suppose.
Of course.
Or carrying talker pigeon.
I was thinking it might also have been a mailman who might have been a werewolf.
Oh, that's a throwback.
Yeah.
That's a look back, even.
I know, right? I can recall. The first electronic mail, I believe, that we received. This is from M, pronounced she, her, and it says, "Hey gang, medium time listener, first time emailer." I love that turn of phrase, medium time. Over the Garden Wall is my favorite cartoon, bar none, and I was so excited to see the series pop up in my feed. The show means so much to me on so many levels, and I take every opportunity to gush about it. I'm always going to remember watching the series with a few friends in high school, and that jaw-dropping twist toward the end of the show's run. I wonder what that'll be. I think it was the first time a cartoon genuinely blew me away. My favorite fall pastime is to sit my friends down and watch them watch the show for the first time. I watched it with my partner.
Stare intently. No blinking.
That's kind of the whole essence of this podcast, to be honest.
I don't watch the episode, I just watch their facial expressions and gauge it from there, yeah.
Exactly.
You gotta.
That's what we did with Alexa with Gravity Falls.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I watched it with my partner on our first date deep in the pandemic, and seeing their reaction to the art, the characters, everything was amazing. And yes, this is one of their favorites now too. We went as Wirt and Beatrice for Halloween last year.
Aww.
Nice. Great episode about the pilot. I absolutely love everything y'all do, and can't wait to hear your discussion about the series. From M. Thank you, M.
Thank you.
So this one comes from PD Piranha Plant, or perhaps Meaty Piranha Implant.
That's a good spooky name. That's a very good spooky name.
It's a good
name.
one, yeah.
Hello, Charlie, Ella, and Shelby. Longtime listener, first-time emailer. I never got to email during Mystery Shack Lookback due to not being part of the original Gravity Falls fandom. I had no gripping or mundane tales at the time because I'm just not one to be part of fandoms. However, thanks to Over the Garden Wall airing entirely in one week, I'd say the non-fandom viewer's recollection of the time is equally as important as the fandom perspective. Throughout my first viewing of episodes 1 and 2, I wasn't quite sure what the extent of how bad things could get for Wirt and Greg. At the time, Cartoon Network was pushing boundaries on what it could show, and I wasn't sure if this was expected to be a teen show, much like regular show, which was regular for the network at the time, I'd say. So I was on the edge for a lot of the time thinking, what if the boys get injured or they throw in a jump scare? Well, they might. It was quite a roller coaster of emotions when I first saw them. The same feeling you get watching ducklings cross a busy road. I don't know if that's what people who weren't aware of the context of the time feel seeing the show. I hope they do. I make it a tradition to introduce someone new to the show every November.
Now on to the main point of the email. I wish to be a carrot when I die, but not just any carrot. No, a classical purple one from before the Orange Nassau Dutch royal family had carrots made orange for them. I'll be a sight to behold, whoever digs me up. Which vegetable would you be? Sincerely, Meaty Piranha Implant.
Well, this is a very good question, Meaty Piranha Implant. Thank you for your email.
Which vegetable would I be when I die? Yeah. It's a classic question you get at every job interview.
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, like it's almost a cliche at this point, but what vegetable do you see yourself as in 5 years?
I hope I live for longer than 5 years. I would, judging by my hair, I would probably be broccoli.
I would want to be broccolini, but I am small and round, so I think I'm a spaghetti squash.
Spaghetti squash kind of sounds like your name.
It does. That's, yeah.
Yeah, a little.
Shell Betty Squashler.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay. I don't know why this came to my mind, but I feel like I'm gonna be corn.
Corn! I love it!
So I guess now that we all know, what vegetables we're going to be when we enter that good night, yeah, it's time to actually go into the unknown.
So is that where Dipper and Mabel are headed in the final episode?
Yes.
I guess so, yeah.
Ready to go into the unknown?
No. But let's do it anyway. It's the 9th episode of Over the Garden Wall. It premiered on November 7th, 2014 on the Cartoon Network. It was...
a whole network just for cartoons?
I know. It's, notably, it's the only episode that is script-driven instead of board-driven, so it is written by Cole Sanchez, Bert Young, Amelia Lavari, Tom Herpich, and Patrick McHale, and it is storyboarded by Cole Sanchez, V. Nguyen, and Zach Gorman.
Oh.
And Cole Sanchez was also a director on Adventure Time, a board artist on Flapjack, and a supervising producer on Summer Camp Island.
And he's in this episode.
Apparently, yeah. All right, so let's just watch it then.
Goodbye! Thank you, old lady Daniels!
Goodbye, Gregory. And please don't call me old lady.
Yes, sir, young man!
So, that was really weird. Did we watch the right show?
The animation looked similar.
Yeah, but it wasn't really about anything like, whimsical or old-timey or anything like that.
I do think that poetry with clarinet is pretty whimsical.
That's true.
The episode opens with electric guitar.
Yeah, wait a minute. What's going on here?
Played on a cassette tape.
Beautiful.
That song is The Fight Is Over, sung by series creator Pat McHale.
I know there's some, anachronistic stuff in Over the Garden Wall, but, this is like 70s or 80s. What's going on here?
Yeah, all of the lighting in the backgrounds is artificial and electric.
Yeah, it's a lot more blue and...
because it's very, very candle lit in the unknown, so it's very orange. And here, every single house has a blue glow coming out of it, implying they are all watching TV.
Right. Even on Halloween.
And the music in this one is based on sitcom stings instead of on the music of the Baltics or whatever.
Yeah.
There's some really great little pratfall, just like noises. Like when the egg falls over and it just goes, Phew!
And I wonder if the episode being script-driven is to make it feel more like modern cartoons.
That makes a lot of sense.
Maybe,
yeah.
but there are a lot of board-driven modern cartoons as well. It depends on
I
the
know,
length
but
usually.
it's definitely. I mean, there weren't script-driven cartoons at the time.
Oh yeah, I see.
that
What you're saying.
Minnie the Moocher.
It is a
or-
modern invention. Yeah.
Yeah, this one does feel more like a sitcom or a TV show than it does a cartoon.
Especially because it's about, it is apparently a prequel episode, is a flashback, because the end of the last episode, we had the reveal that Greg has apparently made a deal with the Beast, was walking off with the Beast, and then Wirt just passed out and was caught by a manorfish, and Beatrice. But after all that, we didn't really see what happened, and now we're flashing back to Wirt having made a cassette recording of Poetry and Clarinet for Sarah, the character that we heard about back in Lullaby in Frogland. Like the girl that he has a crush on, and, of course it's a very sitcom-y sort of story from there, where a lot of the other kids at school, plant it in Sarah's jacket, and then he has to get the tape back before he gets embarrassed, and they hear it, and they laugh, and laugh, and laugh, and laugh, and laugh, and, who voices Sarah?
Sarah is voiced by Emily Brundage, who is apparently, she sings a song called Jinky in a Scooby-Doo movie.
Excellent.
Just one Jinky?
Singular.
One?
And 2, she voices the title character and did a bunch of songs for a series called Pubertina, which none of us have heard of.
I don't know what Pubertina is, other than it being a fantastic drag name.
Okay, I pulled it up. It is from the Smosh wiki.
Okay.
Shut Up Cartoons was a Smosh YouTube channel that featured original animated content.
Uh-huh.
Created as part of Google's unsuccessful YouTube original channel initiative.
I love that the wiki had to specify, this thing crashed and burned.
Pubertina was the second cartoon to air on Shut Up Cartoons.
I feel like it failed because that's a very mean cartoon name. That's a very production company name.
It says, join Pubertina as she tackles the giant pile of mishaps, embarrassment, and acne that is puberty. Every Wednesday, right here on Shut Up Cartoons. Created by Emily Brundage, in fact.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, wow, okay. So it's Braceface.
Meets
Kinda.
Big Mouth.
Yeah.
Meets Shut Up, Lady!
There we go.
Shut up, lady!
We also finally meet the iconic, the stallion, the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Funderburker. Let's give a hand for him because he is an absolute specimen of masculinity.
The Chad walks in.
Such a Chad.
Mr. Steal Yo Girl.
Yeah, absolutely. He's apparently designed based on Patrick McHale's high school senior portrait photo.
Not on purpose. He was drawn with a suit, just, on the storyboards, and as Pat was coloring it in, he's like, oh, maybe I can make the suit green like the one I wore in high school. Wait a second, that's my haircut from high school.
Oh, and Vi Nguyen is one of the board artists on this episode, was also one of the inspirations for Wirt's personality. As Pat says in the art book, I remember Vi being particularly notorious in college for accidentally blurting out something insulting, then digging a deeper and deeper hole for himself as he tried to talk his way out of it. It was strangely endearing, actually.
This is a fun one. It's
very fun.
We get the origins of a lot of things. We find out...
the outfit primarily, right? At the beginning.
Yeah. He cuts the trim off a very erect Santa hat. I said it was stored with cornstarch and is now stiff as a board.
Right, and I pointed out that Wirt is a pubescent boy.
So sometimes, that happens to your Santa hat and it's normal.
Yeah.
It's just part of growing up. But, and then the cloak is from an old
Civil War costume.
Civil War nurse outfit.
And I love that the other kids are like, so, are you just some kind of gnome? What
and
is
he's like, I don't know.
And he doesn't know, but then when he dresses himself and he puts the fan on to swish his cape, he's like, yes! Yes! So Pat McHale points out that moment where his cape is swishing in the wind is called back to at the end when Wirt finally actually becomes the hero and walks off into the snow to find Greg. When we cut back to the unknown.
So call forward, then.
Yeah, well, it calls back and forward.
Yes.
In a way, right?
True.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa, man.
Yeah, so Jason Funderburker sounds like he's in pain all the time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Cole Sanchez does the funniest mouth breather voice.
Oh, hey, Wirt and Sarah. Oh, what's going on? And, like, no one but Wirt sees him as, like, anything remotely threatening or to be taken seriously. Like, he fails to startle Sarah when they're walking into the graveyard, and she just comforts him on his fail to tell, like,
Oh, you tried your best. You did your best.
it's okay. Yeah.
I love that the whole interaction between the two, Wirt is like, no, he's gonna steal my girl. And Sarah's just like, it's okay, buddy. You're doing your best. Like, there is no romantic tension at all. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, like, The Inconvenience Thing, or, like, any Gravity Falls episode with the teens, where it's, like, or even, like, any, like, Steven Universe episodes where Lars would try to interact with the cool teenagers in that show, where, like, you have a character who is so, like, in their own head and so, like, debilitatingly anxious all the time about social acceptance, and then the second you see, like, from outside of their own perspective, everyone's just like, oh yeah, like, it's whatever. They're just normal. Like, they're just normal people. Like, there's a character who sees them as this, like, unattainable, like, institution socially, and then they're just like, oh yeah, that's cool, you can hang out with us. Like, they're excited to see Wirt at the party, and when they see him at the graveyard, they're like, yeah, come on, come hang out. Like, the idea that they are, you know, this cartoonish, like, clique is entirely in Wirt's head. And I think that's really funny and also really, like, touching and really true. Okay, so we've just gotten an image of Pubertina.
And we also found out what her nickname is if you scroll up.
That's bad. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I'm sorry.
What would you shorten Pubertina to?
Obviously, pubes.
Yeah, it says, the wiki says she's nicknamed Pubes by most of the characters, and that is awful, and I don't like it.
That feels like nobody on the show likes her. That's just mean.
I mean, it's from Shut Up Cartoons, so...
I guess you're right, we should shut up.
My chickens are screaming as loud as they can outside.
They don't like pubes as a nickname either.
Part of me hopes that's not in the recording. Part of me hopes it is.
So... Unlike Pubertina, unlike Pubes, most people seem to like Wirt, even though they may lightly tease him sometimes. But Wirt interprets this as just being an utter pariah.
It reminds me of Bowler Hat Guy.
Yeah. Hey, Goob, cool binder. Hey, you want to hang out after school? They all hated me. Yeah, that's pretty much. Like, you see how truly, like, warped Wirt's view of the situation is, because we've heard him, you know, saying all this dramatic poetry stuff before, but out of context. And now it's put in context where basically, like, he accidentally fumbles, like, talking to his crush at a party, and then he just launches into, oh, is the dove never to meet the sea for want of the odious mountain? And it's like, dude, it's not that serious.
But same when I was in high school.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That is very, like, how it feels when you're that age. But we have, like, this outside perspective, and through the lens of a cartoon, you can really see, like, how fundamentally absurd most anxiety is.
And Funderburkly.
How Funderburkly absurd most anxiety is.
Abswert.
Yeah. How Funderburkly absurd most anxiety is. One take. I also love all of the background character costumes. It's
Yes!
there's someone with just a pizza around their face.
Yeah, wonderful spreadsheet of all of the different costumes in the art book.
In the art book, yeah.
Which is linked in the description.
Page 154.
I love the guy who's dressed as this cartoon duck, who has the cartoon duck on his shirt for context to what the mask is supposed to be.
Well, yeah, because Nick Cross said, we were trying to design homemade-looking costumes. I remember as a kid, everyone would have those plastic costumes that you'd buy at the supermarket, a Darth Vader plastic mask, and a smock that said Darth Vader on it. I hated those things. So there's one of those with the cartoon duck, and then another dressed as Frankenstein's monster with a smock with Frankenstein's monster on it. I would say the most important reveal in this whole episode is that the entire main conflict of the series, the boys being lost, is all a cop's fault.
That's true. Or a talking cop car.
No, they didn't bother showing us the faces of the police officers because they're not people. But they're basically
he does chase them over this garden wall.
Garden wall, yeah. They're harassing kids all night and then taking way too long to say, "Just kidding, happy Halloween." But yeah, the whole thing is the cops' fault because Greg and Wirt are in the cemetery.
Why are they in the cemetery?
Well, it's what Greg believes is a frog hunt. Greg is also, I feel like we talk a lot about Greg being the MVP of every episode, and it's still true, although it's a very Wirt-focused one. But we get iconic moments such as, "Please don't call me old lady." "Yes, sir, young man." And just before Wirt enters the Halloween party, there's these two kids standing in front of the house talking about stick and ball games, besides baseball.
Yeah, baseball's not the only stick and ball game. There's one old cat, two old cat.
Yeah, and he lists one old cat and two old cat. And so Greg has overheard this, and what we saw back in the school episode, Greg attempting to play...
was his attempt to play the game, to reconstruct the game from only its title.
Right. So it's a call back and call forward situation.
He's like, how do you play two old cat? Come on, speaks for itself. You find two old cats.
No, but not a two old cat. That cat's too old. Is that a real game? Is it a real game? I guess it is a real game.
Let's look it up. Old cat or cat ball were bat and ball safe haven games played in North America.
Mm-hmm.
So it predates baseball.
Yeah, there's a lot of little kind of... It's like a mix of a callback and a call forward, like setting up what previously was like a strange out of context thing that now has context in this backstory episode. Like we see how Greg got the rock from Young Man Daniel's yard. And we get the explanation of why Wirt's dressed that way, but also why Greg is dressed that way, why he has an upside down teapot on his head. He is dressed as an elephant.
Of course.
I mean, obviously, you see his trunk.
Yeah.
And this, there was going to be kind of a setup / payoff for that way back in episode 1. It was a line that got cut when Wirt tells Greg, like, "Oh no, that was a bad plan. I told you to forget that plan." Greg was going to say, "An elephant never forgets." But that line was cut for time, I assume. But I think that it would have been really funny, because that's all, it functions without the context, and then with the context, it's even funnier.
And, not only is Greg in the cemetery for a frog hunt, but Wirt is there because Sarah is there. And why is Sarah there?
For, age-appropriate drinks.
Nothing illegal or anything like that.
Yeah, stuff that's not illegal.
I love that line.
And I love that Wirt like, either doesn't get it or is playing along. He's just, like juice? I mean, he definitely doesn't get it. When Greg and Wirt enter the graveyard, though, when they're hiding behind the gravestones to spy on Sarah and Jason Futterberger and the rest of them, one of the gravestones actually has the name Quincy Endicott written on it, aka the eccentric rich guy from the episode Mad Love. What?
And the gravestone next to it, you cannot read, but it is in a distinctly French Rococo style.
Which implies...
that would be Marguerite Gray's gravestone, Ella. The Quincy Endicott gravestone and the fact that we see they travel into the unknown by drowning seems to imply a lot of what we've already kind of been theorizing about. Mm-hmm. These children are dead!
Or somewhere between life and death.
Or are they in a coma the whole time? Whoa!
Much like Ash Ketchum before them.
Yes, indeed. Or Finn from Adventure Time, depending on who you ask. But yeah, it certainly would make a lot of sense given all the Dante's Inferno type stuff we've been seeing thus far in the show. They head over the garden wall, immediately almost get hit by a train, and then they fall into freezing water.
The old black train.
The old black train! What about that old black train?
I hear it a-coming.
Yeah. After that, we get, Wirt and Dirt.
Yeah! OTP!
This is my I call it OTP word.
Word.
We meet the rest of Beatrice's family.
Yeah! Oh no, they're all bluebirds.
They're all snuggling Wirt to keep him warm.
in a tree.
In a tree. And, Beatrice's mom is the only one that speaks. She's played by Shirley Jones, famously from Oklahoma, and the Partridge Family, and the Music
Wait a
Man.
minute. Partridge Family? No, they're Bluebird
They're
Family.
bluebirds,
They're not
yeah!
partridges.
And they're not in a pear tree, they're in an edelwood tree.
That's true. They twist your expectations.
And that's not at the beach, this is a bathtub.
Yeah, after that he goes into the unknown with the hero callback cape thing.
Into the unknown for real this time.
For realsies.
And finally having his arc moment of admitting that he was never any good to his brother alive. Because he's also still really mean in this flashback.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a little more info about their family. He goes off about, once again, you've ruined my life. You and your dad, always trying to get me to join marching band.
Yeah, wait, you will play clarinet. Oh,
Yeah.
I think...
Also, get him closer to Sarah, like Greg pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait, if you want to hang out with the mascot and you play clarinet, why wouldn't you want to join?
I mean, it's
marching
just showing how absurd anxiety tends to be.
Yeah.
Tends to play against your interests a lot of the time.
Thunder Berkeley absurd.
Yeah.
Yes. I just love how Greg's brain works. Like, it's very much like A, B, this is what you need to do. Like, you want to hang out with Sarah, you play the clarinet, join the marching band.
He is unspoiled by all of the garbage that an adult brain will give you.
Sometimes my brain just gives me garbage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly just my brain telling me to eat my dirt.
Yeah, let's all have a quick snack break with some dirt. When we come back, we'll cover the final episode of Over the Garden Wall Sunday.
Was it a Sunday?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
It was a Friday.
Oh.
Come, wayward souls that wander through the darkness. There is a light for the lost and the meek. Sorrow and fear are easily forgotten when you submit to the soil of the earth. So, considering the previous episode was called Into the Unknown, I wonder what this episode is called. What could it be? It could be anything. It's a final episode. It's like the final chapter of this story. What's it called?
It's kind of like the end of this very long podcast journey, actually.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. And then it will be left to just go out into some kind of, unknown, I guess.
Or unknown.
Well, Wirt is dressed as some kind of gnome, as we learned.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not sure if he's a gnome, so he's
Which
like
makes it unknown.
He's wearing an unknown costume.
Yeah. So that's the 10th and final episode of Over the Garden Wall.
Oh yeah? When did it premiere?
Oh, November 7th, 2014, on a little station you might have heard of, from Ted Turner himself, the Cartoon Network.
Oh, who was
Theodore
it?
Turner. How'd you get him? That's
Theodore
a good
Turner. Yeah, Theodore Turner and the Worst David.
Who was it written and storyboarded by, though?
Well, it was written and storyboarded by Natasha Allegri, Jim Campbell, and Tom Herpich, of course.
Of course!
Of course!
Of course!
Do you want to watch it?
No.
Yeah! Wait,
Oh,
no,
okay.
Ellie, you don't want to?
It's 2 against 1, so yeah, I'll watch it.
Okay. Cool.
I believe in democracy.
Weird energy in this episode.
I love it, though.
we just finished watching Over the Garden Wall.
Wait, I think you're a little ahead. I'm still on the credits.
Well, the credits is when it's over, Ella.
Well, we still had to see a rock go down first.
Yeah.
You said something before the rock even went down.
The rock went down, and you know what that means.
Da 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 da.
Cartoons!
I would have to do that with the
Cartoons.
Welcome to Cartoon Fridays. I'm the Beast.
I'm TV's the Beast.
I'm TV's the Beast. That was a good joke that we made years ago.
Yeah.
So we just finished Over the Garden Wall.
The rock went down.
The rock went down. The rock went down.
I love this finale.
It's amazing. It really, really is amazing.
In the art book, they talk about how everyone who boarded this episode had to do like 1 billion revisions because they kept retooling it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
It's pretty tight, so...
Do you want to read this bit about the 3 acts, Shelby?
All right, so the episode could be divided into 3 acts, each with individual color palettes. The first was mostly white, the second black, whereas the third is colorful. Pat McHale, the show's creator, said in the Art of Over the Garden Wall book, the lighting in the second act is meant to feel like a stage. That reference to the stage in opera is apparent throughout, and is even more apparent through the evident talent of Samuel Ramey, who portrays the Beast. Samuel Ramey was a star of the American opera, and it shows through his operatic way of singing.
Yeah, when he sings Come Wayward Souls, I just want to lay my neck and back on his vocal cords to get
His vibrato.
to get a massage chair kind of effect out of his vibrato.
That's actually
yeah.
how he performs it, Ella.
On a massage chair?
On a massage chair.
That's nice. That's very convenient. Come wayward souls. Now I want to get a massage. Can we just all get massages?
Yeah, let's go get a massage after this.
Can we just go get a massage?
I would love one. My shoulders, I have all of the tension I've ever had in my life is still in my shoulders. Shelby can attest
give
to
us
this.
money to get massages over at patreon.com/mystery shack. We're gonna be honest here. We're gonna use the money to get massages. Well spent.
Here.
You're here.
I really love the sheer amount of operatic influences that this show does take.
Oh yeah.
It's like kind of mind-blowing to me because a lot of people do say that opera is a dying art. But it's not. And the fact that it does live on in things like Over the Garden Wall, where they mirror not only the structure of it, but they mirror other operas like Hansel and Gretel and it's really cool to me the way that this show is done.
It may be a dying art, but this episode is about dying.
That's true!
There's a lot of death. And I love the first kind of set piece of the episode. Amalia Lavari says it best in the art book, saying, "So much of the humor in the series comes from Greg's fearlessness. The points of suspense and actual fear, the stakes, come out of his courage, but also his obliviousness. One of my favorite scenes is his encounter with the Beast because of how casually a child can answer degrees of evil. The degree to which the Beast is sinister doesn't register with Greg because his worldview doesn't make room for that caliber of ill intent. Being able to take a character like that into an actually dangerous situation was really challenging and really thrilling. We wanted to be true to his character, and we wanted to be true to the impulses that he has, which tend to vacillate between being really funny and kind of terrifying. Because he has this series of challenges that the Beast puts before Greg, and Greg, aces all of them by finding these creative ways to solve them.
The cow is white as milk, the cape is red as blood,
Pretty
the hair
much,
is
yeah.
yellow as corn, the slipper is pure as gold. Yeah.
Pretty much, because he has this inventiveness that really only his perspective could give as a child. And it's so interesting how the Beast talks to him, because he's not, actively threatening. It's the Beast still understands that this is a child, and he is using him for his own ends, but not in a way that makes Greg feel uncomfortable. Greg feels like he's winning.
Mm-hmm.
And he is winning.
Always.
No, wait, he's dying.
But even as he's dying, as he's being transformed into an Edelwood tree, he tells Wirt, I did it, I beat the Beast. Because that's how that whole scene went down. We also get the reveal, Soylent Green is people. The Edelwood trees that the woodsman has been chopping up to fuel the lantern
Are Soylent Green.
Are Soylent Green, and that's people.
Well, they're more brown.
Well, they got leaves on them.
brown leaves.
Well, multicolored leaves. It's fall. Turning into winter, though. Turning into winter.
This episode also kind of transitions us from an autumn scenery to a winter scenery.
He was also eating some leaves earlier. That's my favorite line in the whole episode. Yeah, I was just eating some leaves. As he's dying. And Wirt reunites with Beatrice in this episode, and we get the song One is a Bird, which I think is also sung by
Shirley Jones.
Yep,
Yes.
sure is.
I think we heard a little instrumental of it in the previous episode, and maybe some episodes prior, it's kind of been like Beatrice's motif.
Because Beatrice is a bird.
Yeah.
She's the one, the titular one.
She is the one.
And Wirt is the guy.
Yeah, he is the guy.
I'm the guy. The real guy. And I say we go in, we beat this unwinnable level, and we get to the other side, where untold riches and a bounty fit for 10 kings awaits us.
I knew it. Now he's definitely the guy.
But yeah, I love how they, calling back to that quote, it's really interesting because I never thought about the way the color palette does distinctly change in the 3 acts.
Yeah, and lighting it like a stage I never thought about, too, because the lantern, lights it in this void. Like a stage light.
And, I guess it's the transfer between one and the other is when it goes from the silhouette of the white into the black, and then the silhouette of the black with the white in it. That's the transfer from one to the other, which is very theatrical.
Like a yin and yang thing, yeah.
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 Oh, this show's so good.
It's so good! There's one background when the woodsman is walking, and it's you see, it's kind of a sunset where there's still, color hitting the trees and the sky, but everything else is white and gray, and I'm just I love this show!
Aren't white and gray the main character's name?
You're thinking of Gandalf.
Wirt and Greg?
That's Gandalf the Wirt.
Gandalf the Wirt and Gandalf the Greg.
Gandalf the Wirt.
And Gandalf the Greg.
Yes!
So, the operatic music that accompanies dying Greg.
Oh my god, it's the funniest and saddest thing in the world.
Is a cover of his hit track Potatoes and Molasses in Latin.
Sung by a child choir.
Sung slowly and dramatically. I think that's Colin Dean singing.
I think it's a single voice. It's just Colin Dean.
But there's a choir that comes in with a grow tiny seed.
That's true.
Yes.
Performed by Colin Dean and the Unknown Children's Choir.
And then, Greg kind of steps back to it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Unknown Children's Choir.
Oh, tiny seed.
Oh, aren't they wonderful? Aren't they wonderful, folks? Now I am going to die. And the frog looks so sad and cold.
Look at his little crossed legs when he's leaning up against the tree with Greg.
The frog is so sad.
The art book says that the frog's expressions are supposed to be the key into how Greg is feeling.
Yeah, I think that stays fairly consistent throughout, but here especially.
Mm-hmm.
In a similar manner to Cammy in Street Fighter, when we watched Street Fighter for Mystery Shack Look Back, we called Kylie Minogue Jean-Claude Van Damme's emotional interpreter because his acting is so bad we don't know what we're supposed to feel when he performs until Kylie reacted to it.
Right. And in this case, Greg has an excuse on account of he's being transformed into a tree.
I think that was the case for JCVD in that film.
Yeah, probably. I was also getting kind of an E.T. and Elliot vibe of I can picture the frog pasty white, washed up on a riverbank, dying like E.T.
Frogs are just like E.T.
Or E.T. is just like frogs.
They're slimy.
They sound like a chain smoker, that kind of thing.
They get everywhere.
They get everywhere.
So, we get to see the beast. Very briefly, we get to see the beast's true form. It's real bad. Don't like looking at it.
I don't either. It's, meant to evoke tryptophobia, but it's only, not all of him is on frame at once. We get a quick glimpse. Each, section of him has only a frame. He's made of a bunch of crying faces!
Yeah, which makes sense. If he himself is made of the Edelwood, then he's made of lost souls.
Wayward souls, in fact.
Wayward souls, yeah.
They came to him.
Him eat them, and then...
Him eat them, Ella!
Him eat them.
Souls! And that's not good! And the woodsman didn't know he was helping the beast eat them souls.
No, if he had known, he never would have agreed to their whole arrangement. Oh, yes, the background that I really like is in the art book. It's on page 168. Yes. And I love that the woodsman, like, exits, stage left to have a boss battle with the beast that we don't see, just so that Wirt can come in and have a private conversation with Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, and we get Greg's, like, this really, really fascinating insight, I think, into, like, Greg's whole character this whole time. Because he reveals, in the previous episode, we saw that he got the Rock Facts rock from young man Daniel's garden. But here he reveals that he actually stole it. That he is a stealer, and that is a rock fact. And, like, the realization that he's been carrying that guilt with him, like, the whole time, and that everything that Wirtz said has only been, like, implanting that further and further in his head, that, like, this is all your fault. You have done something terrible, and now it has killed us.
Yeah.
Is heartbreaking.
Just like the way a child brain puts those pieces together even though they don't make sense.
Right, and it's tragic for Wirt as well, because he's only just now realized the error of how he's been interacting with Greg this whole time. And here's Greg saying, yeah, you were right all along, I am a screw-up and I should just be left here. And the Wirt of the first episode might have just left.
Yeah.
The Wirt of episode 1 might have just left him there. Yeah, and now it's all he wants to do is bring his brother home, and this is the one time that he can't, because he's turning into a tree and dying, which is, who can't relate to that?
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
I can relate deeply, though, to to what I interpret from the whole Beast and Lantern situation. I started to see it as a really apt, like, analogy or metaphor could be read for obsessive-compulsive disorder, where the Beast is essentially a representation of OCD, because he has convinced the woodsman that he needs to do this task repeatedly, forever.
Do this ritual, yeah.
Or else his daughter will die. His daughter's soul will be extinguished. He implants these, like, terrible, terrible ideas into the woodsman's head and says, you have to do X, Y, Z, or else this will happen. Which is, of course, complete nonsense. But Wirt is the only one who realizes that from his outside perspective, because he just says, wait, that's dumb. Because the whole, the essence of OCD is that fulfilling your compulsion never actually helps the thing you think it's helping. It only feeds the OCD more. It is the beast's soul in the lantern. You are only serving itself. It's not actually doing what it says it's doing.
Yeah.
And even Wirt says, like, you just have some obsession with keeping this lantern lit. It's almost like it's your soul.
And he's like, what? No, it's your soul, shut up.
Yeah. I love Wirt failing at his badass line. It's like, are you ready to see true darkness? And Wirt's like, are you? Are you? But then he actually does get a pretty badass moment where he goes to blow out the lantern and then just kind of goes, shh. Yeah, I thought so. And then he just puts it down by the woodsman, is like, yeah, this is your fight, not mine. That's genuinely, like, such a satisfying moment for him.
And apparently, the woodsman's daughter was just still in the house. Apparently, he just forgot to look at his house.
Right, which, I mean, I think I initially thought, like, oh, that's such a cop-out. It should be, like, about accepting grief and stuff. But through the OCD lens, it does make a lot of sense, because a lot of times the thing that you think is wrong isn't even actually wrong in the first place. Like, there's actually no problem, and you have completely invented it.
She's like, yo, Dad, where you been?
Yeah.
You haven't been here in, like, a few months. What's up?
Well, I thought... Yeah. Although, did the comics give an explanation of that?
Yeah, no, that's it. He just didn't see her in the house.
Oh.
Well, she probably was, like, out. So as a kid, I was always, like, super paranoid that the rapture was gonna happen, and it was, like, completely an irrational thing.
Oh, no!
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and so, like, my terror was anytime I could not get in contact with my friends or my family, like...
The rapture happened and you were left behind.
Exactly. So I feel like it's probably that kind of scenario. Like, she was literally just out getting bread. He didn't know where or why.
Why would you tell a kid about that?
It's because Christianity's fucked. But yeah, no, I assume that that's what it was. Like, there was just, like, no note was left. And so he just started spiraling to, my daughter is gone. Like,
because he has OCD.
Exactly.
And he also, I feel like he's like, well, I don't know, life expectancy in this time period is like, 30? So she's probably dead.
I mean, like, in a hypothetical situation, like, it could have been that there was a storm that separated them, and he went to go look for her, and that was his entrance into the unknown, was that he got, like, he had a near-death experience looking for his daughter.
Right.
We do know all this, because there is a comic about it.
Yeah? I like my story better than just,
I like your
she was
story
just in the
better.
house and he forgot to look.
Yeah.
It was something like that. I could go look real quick if y'all want.
Yeah, check.
Beast, where's my daughter? Did you check inside the house? Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry.
Whole thing circumvented.
oh, wait, no, I mean, she's in the lantern. No, you're right. She was in the house.
She's in the house.
She was in the house.
I can't lie.
I like big butts, and I cannot lie.
Alright, 1 sec, y'all.
In the meantime, I will point out that when we venture into the real world again, when we're back safe at the hospital, there is a wide shot of the city, and for seemingly no reason, it's the same city as the town in the show Clarence, which was another Cartoon Network show airing at the time.
The reason is that there was a lot of work put into this episode, and it saved them time.
They had to reuse the background.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating how, like, specific it is, because there's, like, there's a very specific bowling alley sign, or it's like, they're using a very non-generic looking city background, so, it's kind of like one of those Pixar theory things where, like, Pixar will reuse assets because movies are expensive and they have everything in, like, a CG backlot to pick and reuse, and then people interpret that as a shared universe thing. But I do think it would be really funny if something as, like, grim as Over the Garden Wall existed in the same universe as Clarence, which is an incredibly lighthearted show.
Well, it does exist in a separate world. So that means if Clarence were to drown...
I mean, also separate time period, right? Because Clarence takes place in the modern day, and this is apparently the 70s or 80s or something.
Yeah, she was told to not go out because he was afraid she would get hurt. She does go out.
It'll make me wicked.
Yeah, no, well, he's, very paranoid that something bad is going to happen to her because of what happened to his wife.
Okay.
So she goes out anyway. He goes looking for her and runs into the beast. She did run into the beast prior to that, so you'd think, oh, maybe the beast got her. But she comes back and says, you were right about the beast, but I made it home. Safe and sound, didn't I? So next time I go into the woods at night, we don't have to be afraid of him. Do you see? He is not at the house. So I think maybe you're right about that OCD thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's
I think
the whole
you're right.
thing. That whole line that she says about we can go out and not be afraid is like, that is the antidote. That is the antithesis of what OCD tells you.
But it also could be interpreted, since she did run into the beast and he cannot find her, that maybe she isn't in her house proper. Maybe she's being kept somewhere.
Pocket dimension house.
Yeah, that looks like her house. Or maybe, she ran into the beast, she got away, and he saw the beast.
They were ships passing in the night. Yeah, I like the unknowing of Greg and Wirt in the end. Greg's good boy haircut is very good.
Greg's good boy haircut. Yeah, they clean him up and they give him they brush his hair. He looks so fancy in his pajamas and his grippy socks.
What a sweet bean.
And he's wearing Sarah's top hat.
Or the frock is, yeah.
Well, Jason Funderburker is.
Yeah,
we finally get the name of our frog, Jason Funderburker.
Our frog.
No, not your frog. Our frog. Not you, Jason Funderburker. Jason Funderburker, my frog. And I don't know if this is confirmed, but I think I've seen, in order to distinguish, I think I've seen Jason Funderburker, the frog's name, spelled with, like, a different letter, like a U instead of an E somewhere, instead of Jason Funderburker, the pathetic man.
It would just be how Greg thinks it's spelled.
Okay, yeah, there you go. We also get something that I find really interesting of, like, you know, the closing narration starts of, like, was it all a dream or whatever, something. But when Greg is showing off the frog to everybody, he shakes the frog, and the bell that is still in the frog's tummy glows, the ringing of the bell. And I think that's really interesting, because I love, you know, anytime there's a little hint of, like, okay, maybe it did really happen. Like, it isn't just Wizard of Oz-esque, and you were there, and you were there. You weren't there, Jason Funderburker.
Aww.
Yeah, no, it's hinted to have been real, I would say, right? I mean, that's kind of hard to dispute.
Yeah.
But then there's I don't know, I like that there's not really a clear answer, because there's that, and then there's also the tombstones from the previous episode with Quincy Endicott's name on it, which is also pretty indisputable. I don't know, did we have any theories back then, gang, as to what was going on?
I was just watching it with rapt attention, being like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
But
I had gotten into it 2 years after it premiered.
Right.
Yeah.
I had seen it. I was pretty involved in the Gravity Falls fandom on Tumblr, so I had seen it discussed a lot. So I had seen Purgatory mentioned and kind of went into the series knowing that was an interpretation of form.
Ah, yeah.
I think that because of how quickly the episodes were released, because it was a mini-series, there wasn't time for speculation.
Yeah, it's very much the opposite
moment
of Gravity Falls, where this was released all in a week, and Gravity Falls was released, you know, painfully slowly.
So then the speculation comes on the overall series. What is it about? What are the themes? Where are they?
The Over the Garden Wall series. Yeah. Overall is the shortened nickname for Over the Garden Wall.
My favorite thing in the world!
Yeah.
Overalls?
Overall.
I love overalls!
Like Greg
Greg's wearing
wears.
overalls. Yeah.
Yeah. You've dressed as Greg.
Over the Garden
I have dressed as Greg. Over the Garden Walls. I need to make some of those. Some just like overalls with Over the Garden Wall characters
But
on
yeah,
it.
I think that's why these last two, or maybe just the last episode, like, fuels the speculation the most, because that's, you know, people viewed it as a pretty much a completed piece. Whereas, instead of going from week to week.
I'll say one of my favorite things is that if you do watch the last episode and then go back and watch the first episode, as I usually do with shows, like I usually go back and watch the first episode after I finish the last one.
Yeah.
It's a circle. Like everything that happens in that
Yeah,
first
it's like
opening
poetry,
piece.
sort of, it rhymes.
Yeah, it kind of like, it reflects back on that first episode really beautifully. It's just, it's great.
Because we see the old mill again. He goes back to the house, and tries to refuel the lantern.
As we hear the reprise of Into the Unknown now with the full chorus, we do see, yes, the images from the first episode, except more hopeful and optimistic this time. So instead of Quincy Endicott looking frightened at a dim portrait of Marguerite Gray, a well-lit portrait of Quincy Endicott is admired by Marguerite Gray.
All of them, with Fred the horse.
Yeah.
And then we see Langtree and Jimmy Brown at the circus.
Mm-hmm.
It was me.
Was the gorilla.
I was the gorilla.
We see Beatrice and her family turned back into humans because Wirt had the scissors the whole time and didn't say because he was mad, which makes sense. And we see them reunited with the dog.
The dog.
The dog who is not the beast.
The dog is not the beast!
You have beautiful eyes!
Apparently that was Beatrice's dog, or is now. She stole it,
And
maybe.
the mill was Beatrice's family's house as well, because in the first episode there's a lot of bluebird imagery, I believe, in the house.
Oh, he stole her? That's whose house he stole.
I believe so.
Why'd he do that?
And fixed back up. Thank you.
And then, of course, one of the vignettes in the first episode is Greg picking up the rock. Greg stealing the rock from young man Daniel's yard. And the last image is Greg putting it back.
Yes.
Which is just... I love this show.
I love this show.
I love symmetry so much.
It's like poetry. It rhymes. Every stanza
sort of.
Hey. This podcast is kind of over, isn't it? Over the garden wall.
Ah!
You know what's really spooky? Is podcasts ending. Whoa.
Yeah, this podcast is dead.
dead. But, anything we have to say before we go? Before we mosey on out of here and clean up all these cobwebs and things and lock her up for the season?
Any final thoughts on Over the Garden Wall? Or podcast?
I just think that's one of the most perfect pieces of media, just as a whole.
Yep, 100%. It's not long enough to have developed any flaws, which is beautiful.
Well,
That's true.
So, they do talk in the art book about we never learn the mysteries of the black turtles, and they talk about how in a lot of cultures there is this idea of doing an imperfect stitch on purpose on a piece of clothing, and they describe the lack of solution to the black turtles mystery as that.
Right, and that's why it's perfect. If it had every question answered, it wouldn't be as exciting to think about to this day. And I think same with Gravity Falls. There are questions that Gravity Falls never answered intentionally to keep it alive.
Keep you talking, keep you thinking about it forever.
Mm-hmm. Forever.
Forever.
If you, you...
like to talk to tomatoes.
If you like to talk to tomatoes...
Bum, 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 bum.
If you want to find more episodes of this podcast, go to our host network, pipedreampodcasts.com, where you can find other shows like Escape from Walt Disney, How Did This Not Get Made, Come On Fahuquapods, and Pod Made You Special, where they talk about VeggieTales.
Where they talk to tomatoes.
VeggieTales. Well, I don't know if they have
Talk
yet.
about tomatoes.
They should get my wife on it so they can talk to a tomato.
Talk to tomatoes.
That
You're
is
right.
true.
You're right.
Because they like to talk to tomatoes.
Yes.
While you're on pipedreampodcast.com, you can find a link to our show's social medias, our Discord server, and our Patreon, patreon.com/Mystery Shack. I don't know if you know this, but hosting podcasts actually costs money. So if you want to send us money through Patreon, we can continue to do it.
So this podcast doesn't disappear one day.
You can read the Over the Garden Wall art book at the link in the description. And David, go to sleep, David. You're not supposed to be listening to this, David Zaslav. May you go the way of Bob Chapek.
Yeah.
You can check out our merch store at crowdmade.com/collection/Mystery Shack Look Back. And what better gift than the gift of a Mystery Shack Look Back shirt?
That's true.
It's true. Contact us at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com. Thank you to Sim and the Dim Bulb, V2-0, for our intro instrumental. And,
I have something to plug. I mean, we should all say our Twitters and such.
You're right, since this is the last episode of Garden Wall Recall.
I don't know that they're, well, maybe not Twitter.
Provided Twitter still exists.
Yeah.
In the future.
Wait, here, start us off, Charlie. What do you have to plug?
I have a new show now that this podcast is over. I'm constantly scheming, constantly working.
Constantly rubbing your hands together sinisterly.
I like to challenge myself and do something different than what I did last. So, a lot of people know me for an improv show. After which, I made a comic dub, I worked at a Renaissance fair, I produced a play for MagFest.
Yeah.
So now that I'm done with this podcast, I thought it was the time to bring back the abridged series. They will never die.
It's real and it'll never die.
I created a series kind of based on what I learned to find interesting about myself through this podcast and other sources.
Aww.
During the Pines Quest episode, where I got to info dump about Zelda, it occurred to me that, this is not a past obsession from my childhood. This is something I'm still very much actively passionate about. So I have a new show called Well Abridge Me Princess, which can be found on wellabridgemeprincess.tumblr.com. It is a comedy dub of the 1989 Legend of Zelda cartoon with me as the voice of Link and Zelda. Ella co-writes it.
Yeah.
Shelby voices Sprite. I'm really proud of it. I'm, for once, just focusing on me and what I think I'd like to make instead of what I think would get money or attention or articles written about it. Please check it out. I'm really proud of it.
Well, I guess I'll plug my my Instagram at DrawnWithoutRef. It's the same as Twitter, whatever Twitter becomes in this wild, messed up universe of ours. And yeah, you can check out my art and my animation and all that sort of good stuff there. You can also, I did just do a guest spot on Podmage Special, so you can check that out as well. We've done guest spots on most of the Pipe Dream podcast at this point, I would say, right?
All?
You could check us out on Escape from Vault Disney, Come On for Hookah Pods, and How Did This Not Get Made? So, yeah, basically all of them. All the currently running ones, yeah.
Yes.
So my handle on just about every platform is at Shelby Sessler, just my name. My website, shelbysessler.com, and right now on YouTube, I'm working on a couple of Owl House-related things, specifically a prequel series. I'm working with an artist named Moon Meg, and so those will be released on Shelbini Voiceover, Shelbini VO, on YouTube.
Woo!
Nice! So, signing up for the final time for the foreseeable future, I'm Shocking Shelby!
And I'm Chilling Charlie. At this point, more of a winter chill.
Just kind of chilling.
Chilling.
It has been my extreme honor to have been
Scare wolves.
Hey, we brought it back. Oh, how the gentle wind beckons through the leaves as autumn colors fall, dancing in a swirl of golden memories, the loveliest lies of all.
Woodsman, the time has come once again.
Indeed. The moon glows full above. It must be time to thank the patrons for keeping this lantern fueled as I toil in the depths of the forest. Our dearest gratitude to Daddy Driftwood,
Daddy Buttons,
Adam with 2 A's, a D and an M,
Easy Snake Oven,
Friendly Local Geek,
Hope,
Hugh Salinas,
Jamie Belts,
May,
Oliver Pluto,
Tuno Series,
Richard Scanlon,
Ro Davis,
Samantha Angley,
Spencer Neil Campbell,
Vanillin Zucker,
P.G. Piranha Plant,
B. Calisota,
David Gansel,
Gwen Prime,
Delphine Dussy,
Junior Bra,
Jessie Marie McDougall,
Ryan Faber,
Mumbletine, D. Wumbletine,
Elizabeth Neuenfeld,
Stephen Patrick Mulholland,
Sterling Jubilation Axel,
and roll for Arcana.
Be sure to keep that lantern lit, Woodsman. Pray you don't disappoint me.
Help me carry my endless burden through the night at patreon.com/mysteryshack.